Hello, everyone, and welcome back. In the past, I have talked to you about how, in my opinion, the mental health system here in Florida is draconian and broken, and the Baker Act in its current form is just a prime example of that. I mean, we file about 250 cases, roughly, sometimes more, a year to get people out over from the Baker Act. I think over the years now we filed, I'd have to check, but I think it's close to about 900 cases getting people out of Florida's draconian, broken mental health system. And it went through some changes back in 24. And honestly, I don't think it made a darn bit of difference. And I actually talked to a TV, a reporter. They came to interview me, and they said, "What do you think?" I said, if they'd called me, I'd have taken 5 minutes. I'd have told them how to fix this thing. And this article that I'm going to reference, and I'll put a link to it in the description for the video, is just a prime example. Florida promised mental health reform. This family says the system still failed. Tamara Patzer, who is a very well-intentioned mum, didn't mean to call the police on her son. On April the 11th, she realized he was having a delusional episode. While visiting him at his home in Port Charlotte, she called a mental health service provider hoping to find support. And I've seen that happen before, and you end up getting sucked into the Baker Act. Instead, he was arrested on an out-of-county warrant and is now being held in the Sarasota County Jail, where as of Tuesday, he has yet to be given any of the prescribed medications that could help with his mental health condition. He told a reporter during a video call from inside the jail. I've told you guys before that, there's two ways the state can step in and take somebody: the criminal justice system and the mental health system. And in either of those instances, the state is not very good at taking care of people. They're just simply not. And this is just another prime example, and this is really heartbreaking stuff. Online records show Freshwater, who's her son, had been involved in more than 2 dozen criminal cases and civil infractions in Sarasota and Charlotte counties, including felonies, misdemeanors, and smaller infractions. According to Patzer, almost all stemmed from his mental health issues that she has spent years trying unsuccessfully to get properly treated. I'm focusing on Charlotte County's failure to get him mental health help and Sarasota County's failure to help me get him mental health help. Okay, this brings up an interesting issue, and I don't know the resources that are available to this mom, so I'm not looking to pile on. How's that? But I've said before that there is options available to a family when it comes to dealing with somebody with any kind of behavioral health issue, substance use, mental health, right? One is you could do nothing and just see what happens. And in my experience, that typically just makes things worse. Two, you can hope the state steps in through either the criminal system or the mental health system. Or three, you can make the decision. You can step in and you can make the decision to save your loved one. And that typically involves, a combination of perhaps the Marchman Act and or the guardianship. But these are the types of things that can happen when the state does step in. And it's heartbreaking because you got a mum here who's desperate to save her son and a system that's failing him. It's really bad. Freshwater was diagnosed last year with bipolar disorder, but Patzer said he'd been having mental health struggles long before being diagnosed. He often enters delusional episodes in which he believes things aren't true, like he's suddenly come into large sums of money, that his loved ones are trying to steal from him, or the people around him have died and been replaced with artificial intelligence. Yeah, I mean, we see this a lot, especially with this new marijuana, where people are just completely delusional. It's as if their brain has been, kidnapped. It looks like them, sounds like them, walks like them, but they're not running the show, which is why left untreated, things just get worse. Although the Baker Act is designed as a mental health intervention, encounters can escalate into criminal charges when law enforcement responds to people in crisis who are frightened, confused, or resistant. Yeah, I mean, that can definitely happen. But I think you've got to understand something. The Baker Act is not designed as a treatment statute. It's not designed to treat people. Even gentlemen, an individual like this, that's not what it's for. Okay, the idea is to assess, stabilize, and release. It's a band-aid. Okay, it's not treatment. And obviously the big problem with the Baker Act is that frequently people get sucked into the system and then they can't get out. I've also seen people who went to court, who went to the courthouse, filed a petition to have somebody picked up with the Baker Act, and then wondered why nobody from the Baker facility called them. Why weren't they consulted? Why are they being released? Why can't we keep them longer? Why are they stuck? It's because when the Baker Act is a statute that allows the state of Florida, to take your loved one and do whatever they want. Okay, what happens is that your loved one becomes a ward of the state. Okay, the state becomes the new legal guardian, and as a parent, your rights to make decisions for your children, your adult child, are effectively terminated. And your loved one's right to make decisions for themselves, they are effectively terminated too. That's what happens when the state steps in through either the Baker Act process, mental health system, or the criminal justice system. Now the state takes over. And unfortunately, this is one of the consequences of this. And I feel terrible for this mother. I don't know who's been giving her advice. We'd love to talk to her. So if anybody knows her, ask her to reach out to us. But the bottom line here is that, unfortunately, the way the system is set up requires the family to take action. And that also requires some resources. And I'm not saying that's right. I've waxed poetic about the fact that we do not have great treatment available for people who don't have resources. I'm just telling you how the system works. And as I've said before, on numerous occasions, it's broken. It's simply broken. So I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are. Have you had a loved one Baker Acted? Do you have a loved one Baker Acted right now? I get 3, 4, 5 calls every day with people who are Baker Acted. Before I made this video, I just got off a call with somebody. Let me know your thoughts about Baker Act. If there is a loved one in your family who's dealing with a mental health issue and you've wondered what are your options, please reach out to us. There are options available. Let's have a conversation about what options may or may not be available for you. And if there's an issue going on in your family and I've not made a video about it, let me know. I'll make you a video, because if it's affecting your family, there's a very high likelihood it's affecting somebody else's family. And I make these videos so that you can get the information you need. The phone call I had before I made this video, the husband of this poor lady that's been Baker Acted, he did some research on Google. It's garbage. It's just not giving you the right information. I have 1,000 videos on YouTube. Okay, there's tons of information on the Baker Act. I make these videos and I give you the information based on the cases that we have handled, our experience working through the system. So please don't rely on Google or ChatGPT. Most of the time, they're giving you the wrong information. So anyway, I appreciate you tuning in. If you like this content, please give me a thumbs up. They say it helps with the algorithm, which means more people get to see it, which means we can help more people. So if you can give me the thumbs up, great. And if you want more of this content that I make every single day for you, please subscribe to the channel. And with that said, thanks for tuning in. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.